A lot of times we struggle to recognize the allies that God has placed around us. And this is because we don't exercise discernment. And secondly, we allow familiarity to set in. And when familiarity sets in, it will always breed contempt. When I talk about exercising discernment, I'm talking about being spiritually awakened, being spiritually aware to who and what God has placed around us. Because you see, sometimes we just need to pray, Lord, open my eyes. You need to understand that your ally isn't always the loudest person in the room, but that person or those people that are quietly carrying the answers that you need.
I'm a force, you can never stop me. Heaven on my side, I got angels with me. Ayy, 24-hour surveillance. Heavenly defender, so you know I'm going.
Hi, I'm Chichi, and you're welcome to Talk Sessions with Chichi. Here, by God's grace, I have the privilege of talking people into deeper experiences with God through scriptures and divine insight. And today is no exception because we are going to be diving right in. Without further ado, let's talk about seeing the allies around you. So for about 6 weeks, this teaching makes it the 6th week. We've been on the Solomon series. We've just been learning about Solomon, David, the circumstances surrounding Solomon's enthronement, and all of it. And I've learned a lot. I've been privileged by God to learn a lot. And while I was preparing the teaching for this week, God just opened my eyes to something. He tells me that divine purpose often requires strategic alliances. God doesn't just speak the word about our purpose to us. He also places the men, the allies, around us too. And it's our responsibility to steward the placement of His word and these allies around us too. When we look at the circumstances surrounding the enthronement of Solomon as king, we see 3 men that actually played a key role, in Solomon securing his place as king. Now, if we look critically at what these 3 men offer, you will notice that they did not offer Solomon or his mother Bathsheba. They did not offer them gold or silver. Nathan the prophet offered foresight. He offered wise counsels. Benaniah the warrior, he made sure that Solomon's transition as king, was a smooth one. While Zadok the high priest anointed Solomon, which actually symbolizes his divine approval. So don't be engrossed in your definition of how your help should come, how your allies should come, or the format in which their help should come. If you do that, you're going to miss the allies that God has placed around you because your eyes is fixated on something different. Now, something to note is that our character, attitude, and honor can affect the people that God has placed around us. When people become too familiar, ungrateful, and dishonoring, these allies that God has set around us can withdraw in silence. So even though divine purpose requires strategic alliances, we need to understand that honor sustains alliances, whether they are divine or not. Now let's look at the story of the impotent man at Bethesda. Now this impotent man lived with his infirmity for 38 years, thinking that his problem was a man to help him into the river when it was stirred by the angel. Now Jesus showed up and proved him wrong. He proved him wrong that for 38 years, that man that you so believed was the problem was not the problem. There was Jesus, a man that he so thought was his problem, and he couldn't even take advantage of the man next to him. Jesus asked him in John chapter 5, verse 6 and verse 7. Jesus asked him, "Will you be made whole?" And he began complaining and he couldn't give a straight answer. So his mindset was the problem. It had kept him there for 38 years. It had stopped him from taking advantage of the allies that was next to him. Sometimes the change that we are expecting from others might actually start with us. And do you remember that Queen Esther's allies were all servants? Haggai was the custodian of the women. He actually helped prepare Esther for the king. He gave her some instructions, some things that he believes will appeal to the king, and she followed suit. How about Hatak? Hatak was the trusted intermediary between Esther and Mordecai, because Mordecai had charged Esther not to reveal her identity. So Hathach came in between as a trusted intermediary, as her ally. How about when she needed to fast? It was her servant, it was her maids that actually fasted with her, and I'm sure these were actually trusted maids. Another person in the scripture that recognized her ally was Ruth. Now, Ruth's settlement did not come from a wealthy connection. Rather, it came through Naomi. Naomi was her mother-in-law, a grieving old widow. If Ruth had dismissed Naomi as someone that has nothing to offer, she would have missed her destiny. So if we are going to recognize, if we are going to start seeing our allies, we have to learn not to despise people. We have to practice honor. We have to learn to see the value in people. We have to be aware of our character. We have to be aware of our attitude. We have to make sure that familiarity does not set in our dealings with people. So we need to sit back and reflect. Do we truly honor the relationships that God has placed around us? Have we allowed familiarity to make us lose sight of the value in people? Because your next level might not require new people. It might require a change in you. Thank you for joining me today on Talk Sessions with Chichi. If this blessed you, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And most importantly, take time to reflect, because your allies may already be around you. Until next time, bye.
I'm a force, you can never stop me. Heaven on my side, I got angels with me. Ayy, 24 hour surveillance.